A lot of times people come to me and they say to me, Queen, my relationship is screwed up. Okay? I hear this all the time. Should I stay with this person or should I leave him alone? So the other day I was online and I saw a list. This list came from Dr. Elizabeth Frederick. She is at Dr. Elizabeth Frederick on Instagram. I've used her list before because she's one of my favorites. It's like 3 or 4 of them I love. And she gave a list on deal breakers versus things you might want to work on. So I thought that I would give you guys this list because some of you may have relationships that you need to scrap, that you need to escape. But some of you have relationships that you might be able to salvage. So I want to tell you the difference. So maybe some of you can find yourself in a happier situation. My name is QueenAusetHeru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to anyone and everyone who might like it too. Please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And if you want to get your own reading done, please hit me up on email or on social media. I would love to give you a reading. If you would like to join us on Patreon, that link is underneath this video. Also, I'm going to do the sip challenge right now. Remember, last time nobody won because nobody followed the directions that are right underneath this video. So if you want $100, check out underneath this video and guess what I am drinking out of my Queen mug. Okay, let's get started. So first we're going to do the deal breakers. Number 1, is it negatively impacting my mental health, self-esteem, or quality of life? If it is negatively impacting one of those things, it is definitely a deal breaker because your mental health, your self-esteem, and your quality of life are the 3 most important things that you have going on. They also can affect you on a physical level and all kinds of other ways. If you are in a situation that's negatively impacting your mental health, for example, you could find yourself in the mental hospital. You could find yourself with ulcers. You know, you could find yourself in jail depending upon what happens. So this one right here is a very important deal breaker. Number 2, is it in direct opposition to my value system? So let's say, for example, you are somebody who, I'm trying to think of something that would be in direct opposition to my value system. Okay, I got a perfect one. I don't like bigots. I don't like bigots of any kind. So if a person comes around me and I realize that they're a bigot, I'm not going to be able to ignore that or fight with them to change their mind. I don't care what it is. If they're transphobic, homophobic, sexist, classist, I don't care what it is. You know, I'm not going to be able to hang around them while they spewing hatred all the time. I don't like that. That is disgusting energy. So that's in direct opposition to my value system. I believe in being good to people. So if someone comes around me and they're a bigot in any kind of way, that's a deal breaker, especially in a relationship. If you want to be a bigot over there in your life, is nothing I can say about it. But you're not going to come over here in my life with that bullshit. Okay? So that's something that's in direct violation to my value system, especially if it's in a relationship. And it's definitely a deal breaker. Next one. Is it a behavior that I have been told repeatedly will be changed and hasn't been? All right, so let's say, for example, because I've seen this happen several times. Let's say, for example, you're in a relationship with a cheater. And the cheater tells you, this is the last time, I'm never going to cheat again. I love you so much. And they've told you this time and time and time again. And always they stop cheating for a little while and then they go back to cheating eventually. This is a deal breaker. because it was okay for you to forgive them and work with them, maybe even more than once. But when you got around that third time, somewhere around that third time, it's time for you to start realizing that this person is lying to you. And if it's something that they need to work on, I can understand that. But you should see improvement. And so if they're cheating and not going to therapy, not going to, any kind of like, I don't know, maybe Sex Addict Anonymous or something. I don't know what that is. But if they're doing that and they're still doing it and they're lying to you basically at that point. So that means that either they can't control themselves or they're choosing not to control themselves. So this is definitely a deal breaker. I'll give you another example. I have a client right now, right? She's been with this man for 15 years. For the past 6 years, he's been in therapy and telling her he has narcissistic tendencies, okay? He doesn't have the disorder. But he's been in therapy and he keeps telling her over and over and over again that he's going to get better. He's going to therapy. Now, when he first went to therapy, she was like, okay, I'm gonna hang in there. This is workable. This is doable because he's willing to go to therapy. But here we are now, 6 years later. He's been to therapy all this time and he hasn't improved. A little, but not much, And so I'm like, it might be time to give up on this because he's not taking his treatment seriously. So if it's a chronic problem that's not getting better, yeah. And it's been repeated, yeah, it's time to move on. Is it something I fundamentally disagree with? If it's something that you have a deep fundamental disagreement with, like I said about bigotry before, that is something that you should not compromise. I don't care what it is. Even if, like, in some cases, y'all both might be right. Like, for example, I know this couple that broke up recently because the husband wants children. The husband, when they first got together, the husband wasn't sure if he wanted kids or not. Okay? So the wife was pretty sure she didn't, but it was kind of left up in the air, right? Recently, he decided that he wanted, this was like in the past 3 years, that he definitely wanted to have children. And she still was not on the fence. So they broke up because she fundamentally disagrees with bringing children into the world at this time. And that is her right. Now, mind you, she could change her mind. Yeah, she could. But right now, she disagrees with bringing children into this world. So either he has to, agree, compromise, or he needs to find somebody else. And that's what he did. He went to find somebody else who wants to start a family. And she went to find somebody else who doesn't. They both can find that. It's just the fact that when they first were making that decision, neither one of them was certain about it. Now they are. Is it going to create long-lasting resentment? So if they've done something and you are never, or maybe you will eventually, but it's going to cause long-lasting resentment against them. I'll give you an example. I know somebody who, her husband had an affair. And this is somebody I grew up with, actually. Her husband had an affair. And as a product of the affair, the other woman had twins. The husband broke up with the other woman and continued to pay child support and, take care of the twins. The wife found out after the twins were like 1.5 years old and decided that she was going to stay with him. Now, mind you, this happened a number of years ago. The twins are grown now. So with the time that we were having this conversation, because I haven't seen this person in a long time, what she was telling me was that they ended up breaking up many years later because she never got over the resentment, because she forgave him, and supposedly he never even had another affair. So she did forgive him for what happened. But as they were going through the motions of dealing with caring for these twins and dealing with baby mama drama, she said the resentment became too much for her to bear. So after a number of years, she hung in there for a while. And then after a number of years, she divorced him because she just couldn't get past the resentment. And I co-signed it because I told her, I said, if you can't get past it, you can't get past it. You did the best that you could. So, she moved on. The next one, the last one on the deal breakers is it reinforcing insecure attachment or trauma wounds? So, insecure attachment. So you having this kind of like insecure attachment to this person, and you both might have trauma wounds, so maybe that's why you guys are together, and it's reinforcing that unhealthy emotional dynamic. So if it is reinforcing trauma bonds, unhealthy dynamics, it's a deal breaker. So all of those things are deal breakers. Now we're going to talk about what's worth working on. Okay. Number one, is it bothering me, but something we can resolve? So let's say they keep leaving the toilet seat up. Okay. Let's say they're not quite balancing the checkbook right. All right. Stuff like that you may be able to resolve, by talking about it, communication, or maybe you need to be in charge of the finances while they be in charge of something else. There's ways to resolve it, is the point. Next one. Is it an outlier situation that I don't feel is consistent with their character? So maybe something has happened. Maybe somebody died. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe there's been a major traumatic life event and they've done something that they probably wouldn't normally have done. And you're like, okay, I guess I could hang around for a minute to see if this changes as they go through this process. And sometimes that does happen. Is it something they have taken ownership of and are putting in efforts to change? So if they are, remember I talked about the person that was going to therapy? That's not a bad one for me, but they have to be honestly making a Hercules effort. It can't just be like they tell me they're making an effort and I see nothing, In this particular demonstration, it says here that they've taken ownership. So they've taken accountability. They've admitted that they were wrong. And now they're putting in effort. They're doing the work. They're going to the therapy. They're trying to change their behavior. They're actually doing it, is the point. So if they're doing it, I'm like, okay, I can see me hanging in there to see if you're going to do it, But the thing about it is that if you tell me you're going to do it and then I see nothing, you're lying. That's a straight up lie. Is it something I will be able to accept and move past? Remember we talked about misresentment, right? That was something she could not accept and move past. She tried. So if it's something that you can't accept and you can't move past it, y'all gonna keep arguing about it for the next 15 years, that's the kind of thing. So if you can accept it and move past it, then it's okay. If it's like something that you have to go through a process, for example, maybe 6 months or a year of counseling or something like that, I can see that, But if I'm never going to be able to do it, then you're wasting your time. Is it something I disagree with, but can understand their perspective on? Understanding each other's perspectives, I think, is important, period, But is it something y'all can agree to disagree on? So like I said, some things you can and some things you cannot, Like if one of you wants to move to Florida and the other one of you is like, nah, they got issues down there, And the other one is like, no, let's go to, I don't know, California, for example. That's something, that the two of you going to have to work out. Because based on this, you can disagree on that perspective, and understand each other's perspectives too, but you're going to have to ultimately come up with an agreement. And if you can't, then it's not going to work. So if it's something that you can see their perspective on and make a compromise with, then it's fine. The question is, can you, a lot of people will try to do stuff that is just not in their best interest. And the last one, Is it something I can compromise on? Here we go with the compromise. Without betraying myself. So if you're going to make a compromise, that's fine. But don't betray yourself. That's the problem. Because like I said in the example about Florida versus California, okay, fine. That's not a betrayal of yourself, you know. Living in Florida to me would be a betrayal of myself. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing, you know, but compromising won't be a betrayal. Let's say I say, okay, you don't want to do Cali, I don't want to do Florida. How about Texas? That's something that's not a betrayal to yourself, you see, but it is a compromise. So stuff like that can actually work. That's the question. All right, let's take a look at some positive comments. Number 1, Dark Web Lou. Hey, Dark Web Lou. You learned that those people want to treat you poorly. The treatment was never a mistake. They just thought you continue to deal with it. One of our examples reminds me of this when we talk about the repeated behavior, right? Yeah, because if a person is treating you badly, 9 times out of 10, they know they're treating you badly. Now, there are cases when a person is just they're just not self-aware, so they don't really mean it or they don't really know. But once you tell them and they keep on doing it, they're clearly aware. This is something that narcissists and emotional abusers do a lot. So the bottom line is that if that person is treating you poorly, they know they were treating you poorly, that is not a mistake. That's not a mistake at all. That's just them thinking that you're going to continue to be a doormat, you know? And some of us will continue. And most people that I know who will let somebody do that get tired. Eventually people will get tired, and that's a good thing. All right, now let's take a look at our next one. This is our last one. This is from Melissa H. Hey, Melissa. Melissa is subscribed for 4 years. That's what's up. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa said, I'm not finished the video yet, but I have to tell you, I'm loving this deck. One of my deck reviews. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing it. I recognized Aisha Frost because I have her book called You Are the Medicine. 13 Moons of Indigenous Wisdom, Ancestral Connection, and Animal Guidance. Sounds like a good book. I've been following it through every moon so far this year. If you enjoy the info in the book with this deck, I bet you like this book too. Just beautiful artwork. It's for sure on my to-buy list now. Blessings to you. Blessings to you too. All right, so let me see. Did we do everything? Yep. That was our last one. All right, cool. You guys come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.